Hello, and welcome once again to Friday Focus, where we do not focus on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Today, Friday Focus is going to be taking a look at the rest of Matthew 6:33, where Jesus said that we were to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Now that we have examined the key words of Matthew 6:33, we want to learn how we put it all together, how we make it personal. And so we're taking a look at the phrase, all these things. Matthew 6:33's conjunction, but, lets us know it's not a standalone verse. It's the continuation of a conversation that started much earlier. The conjunction joins Matthew 6:33 to verses going all the way back to verse 25 and ahead to verse 34, which is the verse beyond the short portion usually quoted. We often hear the first part of verse 33 quoted, but the latter half is also important. And all these things will be given to you as well. These things refer to the necessities of life, food, drink, clothing, even a job, what you need for life. Jesus teaches us not to worry about the things we need, that God provides. We're told to find that place in God where we implicitly trust him to provide the things we need for daily living. By doing so, Jesus also makes the point that God's provision highlights our immense value to him. We are valuable to God. Instead of existing in constant and fruitless worry, Jesus encourages his followers to pursue God's kingdom, trust in his righteousness, and allow him to take care of the basic needs of our lives. Let me talk to you about a new suit for a moment. The need to eat, drink, and clothe oneself is basic to all humans. Therefore, one of the first questions an individual is likely to ask is, will God really provide? The best answer I can give is my own personal testimony. A few years ago, in the late 80s, everything hit the fan. What could go wrong did go wrong. And for a short time, I had only the clothes on my back. Everything I'd worked for was coming apart at the seams. Yet, I determined to do what Job did when he went through his troubles. And we find it in Job chapter 1, verse 22. In all this, Job did not sin by blaming God. It was cold, wet, and December in Seattle. Someone allowed me to stay in their unfinished basement where I cried out to God, telling him I wanted to seek him first and not blame him for my troubles. And that's exactly what I did. No home, no extra clothes. Sometimes I went without food. I wept. I prayed a lot. After a time, the Lord supplied employment with a mission organization that sent out missionaries who taught English as a second language in countries where the gospel was not welcome. One day, I received an invitation to speak at a major missions conference in Three Hills, Alberta, where about 3,000 people would be in attendance. I figured it would be a great opportunity to recruit believers who would spread the gospel through the teaching of English. Driving north on I-5 out of Seattle, it was a beautiful spring day, sky blue, and I was reflecting on Matthew 6, 25 through 34, lingering on verse 33 and the words, all these things. My thoughts drifted to my threadbare, baggy brown polyester pants with a coordinating light brown checkered sports jacket. If you're from the 80s, you know the kind of outfit I mean. I thought about all those people that I'd be speaking to, and quite frankly, I became embarrassed. Before reaching the border, I mentioned Matthew 6:33 to the Lord, and that I was embarrassed to stand in front of that many people and speak. dressed in my shabby brown outfit. I just did not feel comfortable. Reminding him of his care for the lilies of the field, I told him I needed a new suit. And after crossing the border, I returned to my conversation with the Lord, saying, "I'd like a 3-piece suit, Lord." About 20 minutes later, I asked him if it could be a navy blue with thin white pinstripes. You know, the kind you see in magazines that executives wear? It looked really sharp. I figured if he was going to supply, I would request that my suit would be also pure virgin wool because it looks so much better than polyester. Somewhere past hope, I mentioned that I would prefer Canadian wool because I thought it was better than the wool in the States. By the time I'd passed through Kamloops, I'd given the Lord my size. I'm not the tallest person, and so I told him I would need a 40 short, and the pant inseam needed to be 26.5 inches. And so as I drove on towards Three Hills, Alberta, I outlaid a complete description of the suit that I would need. I finally arrived at the conference location in Three Hills, and I was put up for the weekend in the men's dormitory of the college where the conference would be held. After getting settled, I went down the hall to the washroom and noticed a couple of large galvanized garbage cans outside the door. One held recyclables and the other had articles of clothing on top of the lid. I looked through the clothing that was left on the lid and then went inside the washroom, and several students were inside, so I asked about the clothing outside the door. One of the students said that they had a standing rule around the college. If anyone had articles of clothing that they no longer wanted, they could put them there and whoever had needs could take them. And so I mentioned that I'd seen a couple of pieces I thought useful, and he replied, "Well, take them, they're yours." I left, taking what I wanted upstairs to my room, where I began to try on my newly acquired clothing. Surprisingly, what I had taken looked to be absolutely brand new. Soon I was fully dressed and I was checking myself out in the full-length mirror on the wall. All of a sudden, I began to weep because all of a sudden this realization came over me that I was wearing a brand new navy blue 3-piece suit with thin white pinstripes, Canadian-made pure virgin wool, and a size 40 short with a 26.5 inch inseam. I was absolutely astounded at God's faithfulness to his word. God is faithful. Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need, Matthew 6:33 says. So, what's the takeaway? What can I give you that you can take into your life and that will make a difference? Well, I want to give you 4 takeaways from Matthew 6, verses 25 through 34. The first takeaway is found in verse 25. Don't worry over life's necessities. Trust God. The second one is verses 26 through 30. Consider the birds and the flowers. Take a look at what's around you. God provides for them. The third takeaway is found in verse 33. Put God first, and he will supply all your needs. And then the fourth takeaway is found in verse 34. Don't worry about tomorrow. Quite frankly, it's not worth it. If I could say any one thing to you, it would be this. You show God your faith, and he will demonstrate his faithfulness. You are loved. This is Dr. Vic Hollyfriend in his grace. If you have any comments or questions, you can address them to me at vicsfridayfocus@gmail.com. God bless you. Trust God. Let him show you what he will do for you and through you. God bless you.